When Amara finally announced her wedding date, everything around her changed almost immediately. It was like one small message shifted the whole atmosphere. The group chat exploded with messages. Phones started buzzing non-stop. Calls were coming in back to back. Everybody was excited. Everybody was congratulating her. Everybody was genuinely happy for her. At least, that was how it looked on the surface. They all said it was an honor to stand by her side as her bridal train, to be part of her big day. Matching dresses, fine makeup, beautiful pictures, memories that would last a lifetime. Everybody talked about how beautiful it would be. Nobody talked about how heavy it would become. Nobody talked about the pressure that followed after those happy messages. Nobody mentioned the cost. Nobody mentioned the expectations. Because when happiness is fresh, people don't like to talk about responsibility. At least, not yet. It started with small, harmless conversations. Nothing serious, just normal planning. Which Aşewebi color would look best? Who would handle makeup? Where everyone would stay before the wedding? Just small talk. Or so it seemed. Cami, the chief bridesmaid, naturally took charge. Nobody asked her to. She just stepped
Ladies,
into
we've
the
got
role
this.
like
Our
it was
strength is in our
already
unity.
hers.
Together, we
She
will
spoke
succeed.
with
Absolutely.
confidence, like someone who already had everything figured out. Everything must be perfect, she said. This wedding has to be loud. People must feel it. People nodded. People smiled. Some people even agreed loudly. But not everybody felt comfortable. Tola smiled too, but she didn't talk much. Her smile was quiet, careful. She kept quiet about the fact that her rent was overdue. She didn't talk about how her salary had delayed again. She didn't mention how tight things were for her at that moment. She just told herself, I go manage. Somehow. Because sometimes saying you're struggling feels more difficult than struggling itself. Bisola also smiled, but hers didn't reach her eyes. She listened more than she spoke, watching everything quietly from the side, taking note of every reaction. As the days passed, the bills started rolling in, slowly at first, then more frequently. First, it was the custom dress payment, then makeup deposits, then bridal shower contributions. Every week there was something new to pay for, every week another reminder. The excitement slowly turned into pressure, heavy pressure. Tola would stare at her phone for a long time before replying to messages. Sometimes she would calculate and recalculate, hoping somehow the numbers would change. Sometimes she would type a reply, then delete it. Sometimes she would just sigh, lock her phone, and sit quietly with the weight of it all. Until she could no longer keep quiet. When she finally gathered the courage to speak, her voice wasn't steady. Please, can we reduce some of these things? Maybe we don't need everything. For a moment, everywhere went quiet. Not the normal quiet, the kind of quiet that makes your chest tight. Kemi laughed softly, like it was nothing serious. If you can't afford it, she said, maybe being on the bridal train isn't for you. The words landed heavy. Nobody laughed with her. Nobody defended Tola either. Amara stayed silent. She read the messages. She saw everything, but she said nothing. And sometimes, silence hurts more than insult. Bisola watched the exchange quietly. Amara used to be the shy one, the one people barely noticed. Now, everybody admired her ring, her man, her glow. At night, Bisola scrolled through old pictures on her phone. pictures from years ago, dreams she once had. Under her breath, she whispered softly, "It was supposed to be me." From that moment, something shifted. The bridal train group chat slowly changed its tone. Messages became shorter, sharper. Voice notes sounded playful, but the meaning inside them was heavy. Zainab tried to calm things down. She tried to remind everyone why they were there. "Let's remember why we're here," she said. "This wedding is about love, not competition." But when pride becomes loud, love struggles to survive. 3 days before the wedding, everything finally fell apart. Tola sent a long message explaining that she could no longer continue. As she typed, tears dropped on her phone screen. Her hands were shaking. She felt ashamed, like she had failed. Almost immediately, Kemi removed her from the group chat. No discussion, no conversation. Just like that, she was gone. Amara stared at her phone for a long time. She typed a message, then deleted it. She typed again, then deleted it again. That night, she cried alone, wondering how something that started with joy turned into pain. When Zainab confronted her the next day, there was no anger in her voice, only honesty. "Do you want real friends?" she asked, "or do you just want a perfect show?" The question hit Amara deeply. For the first time, she spoke without pretending. "I just wanted everyone to be happy for me," she said quietly. Zainab nodded slowly. "Happiness forced by money," she said, "is not loyalty." On the wedding day, the bridal train was smaller than planned. There was no extra noise, no unnecessary drama, but the absence was loud. Tola sat quietly among the guests, far from the spotlight. When Amara noticed her, their eyes met. Amara smiled. Bisola stood in line, looking beautiful, but empty. Kemi smiled confidently for the cameras. Still, something was missing. After the wedding, when everything settled down, Amara sent one final message. "Thank you to those who stayed with love, not obligation." Some people replied. Some people read it and stayed silent. And some friendships ended quietly. No noise, no closure. Because sometimes the real test isn't marriage, it's friendship. And even after the wedding ended, the silence that followed was louder than the music from that day. Life returned to normal slowly. Pictures were posted, comments were liked, but something had shifted beneath the surface. Amara noticed it in the quiet moments, when the house felt too still, when she reached for her phone and didn't know who to call. Some names no longer felt safe to dial. She realized that weddings don't only reveal love, they reveal people. Tola went back to her routine, work, home, trying to rebuild the confidence she lost along the way. Some days were harder than others, but slowly she began to breathe again. She learned that walking away doesn't always mean failure. Sometimes it means survival. Bisola also kept her distance, not because anyone pushed her away, but because envy is heavy, and carrying it for too long becomes exhausting. Kemi stayed busy, always organizing something, always in control. But control, without compassion, has a way of leaving people alone. Weeks later, one evening, Amara finally sent a message to Tola. No long explanation, no defense, just honesty. "I'm sorry I didn't speak when I should have," she wrote. "I hope you're okay." Tola stared at the message for a long time. Then she replied, "I'm healing," she said. That's enough for now. And in that moment, Amara understood something clearly. Friendship doesn't need big gestures. It needs courage at the right time. Not everyone came back. Not every bond was repaired. But the ones that remained were real. And that was enough. Because in the end, the wedding lasted one day. But the lessons last a lifetime.
If this story touched you, subscribe to more real life Nigerian story like this. Share and comment. Thank you for watching.